A Seattle food delivery driver vanished on Friday night, leaving only a phone and 21 untouched pizzas stacked in a dead man's house. From the depths of my collection, the Nightmare Maestro brings you a tale that will make you think twice before accepting your next delivery request. Megan Smith's fingers drummed against her steering wheel as she watched raindrops hammer her windshield in hypnotic patterns. The red glow of her dashboard clock read 10:57 p.m. Seattle's autumn storms had cleared the streets, leaving them slick and empty. Perfect conditions for her last Grubhub delivery of the night. The familiar ping of an incoming order brought an involuntary smile to her face. It was him again. The regular, as she'd privately nicknamed him, every Friday night for the past 6 months, like clockwork. One large supreme pizza from Angelo's, delivered to the Victorian house on Maple Street. The order always came with a $50 tip and the same polite note. Megan had memorized the route, could navigate it blindfolded through these rain-slicked streets. Other drivers avoided this zone, especially at night. Many had switched areas or quit entirely, muttering about weird vibes and strange experiences. But Megan wasn't superstitious. $50 was $50, and student loans wouldn't pay themselves. The wipers squeaked rhythmically as she navigated past darkened houses. Each sweep revealed another fragment of her route, like a slideshow of suburban monotony. The regular never showed his face, always requesting contactless delivery. Megan had constructed elaborate theories about him, maybe an agoraphobic tech millionaire or a disfigured recluse with a pizza obsession. The theories made the drives more interesting. Tonight's note was different. Megan's thumb froze over her phone screen as she read it. Please bring inside door unlocked. COVID positive. The words sent an uncomfortable shiver down her spine. Her mother's voice echoed in her head, years of warnings about entering strangers' homes. But that $1.50 tip would cover her biology textbook rental. Just a quick drop-off. In and out. What could possibly go wrong? The Victorian house loomed ahead through sheets of rain, its weather-worn facade barely visible in the darkness. Megan had always admired its vintage charm, even if it seemed a bit neglected lately. Tonight, something felt different. The porch light, usually casting a warm welcome, remained dark. The entire house was black, except for a single illuminated window on the second floor, its yellow glow a lonely beacon in the storm. As Megan pulled into the driveway, her headlights swept across the overgrown front yard. The beam caught something that made her pause, a cluster of delivery bags, partially hidden behind untrimmed bushes. Different companies, different eras, all abandoned like shed skins. Her instincts whispered to leave, but the app was already counting down her delivery window. The rain intensified, drumming against her car roof like impatient fingers. The front door's brass handle felt unnaturally cold against Megan's palm, as if the metal itself was trying to warn her away. True to the note, it turned easily, though the hinges released a low moan that seemed to reverberate through the empty foyer. Megan's phone flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing what appeared to be a perfectly preserved slice of 1970s domestic life. Wood-paneled walls stretched into shadow. Thick shag carpeting muffled her footsteps. A console television squatted in the corner, its rabbit ear antennas reaching up like skeletal fingers. The air carried a peculiar staleness, not the musty abandonment of a truly neglected house, but something more deliberate. It smelled of furniture polish and old newspapers, of obsessive preservation. Every object seemed precisely arranged, as if the room was a museum exhibit recreating a specific moment in time. The temperature dropped several degrees as Megan stepped further inside, her breath visible in the beam of her flashlight. "Hello?" Megan called out, her voice swallowed by the dated Daker. "Grubhub delivery." Only the gentle hum of an ancient refrigerator answered, its drone somehow wrong, like a mechanical heartbeat slightly out of rhythm. A family photo on a side table caught her attention. The colors had faded to sepia, but she could make out a man and a young boy standing in front of this very house. The father held what looked like a pizza box from Angelo's, the same restaurant she'd just picked up from. The boy's smile was wide, expectant. The living room walls held similar photos, dozens of them, spanning what seemed to be decades. Megan's breath caught in her throat as she noticed a pattern emerging. Mixed among the family portraits were other images, surveillance photos. Delivery drivers, captured through windows, walking up to this very house. Different seasons, different years, all unaware they were being photographed. Her stomach lurched as she recognized herself in several recent shots. There she was, checking her phone while walking up the driveway. Another showed her sitting in her car, singing along to music, even one from last week, when she'd stopped to ready her shoe on the front steps. The most recent photos were digital prints, sharp and clear. They showed Megan from multiple angles entering her apartment building, walking across her college campus, buying coffee at her regular shop. All captured without her knowledge, all dated within the last month. The scale of the surveillance was staggering, suggesting not just obsession, but complete dedication to a singular purpose. But what purpose? A floorboard creaked overhead, followed by the soft sound of humming a tune Megan couldn't quite place. Her instincts screamed at her to leave, but her feet carried her further into the house, drawn by a sickening curiosity. The kitchen doorway revealed something that made her blood run cold. Pizza boxes. Dozens of them, stacked with mechanical precision against the far wall. Each bore Angelo's logo, and a delivery date marked in neat handwriting, all previous Fridays, stretching back months. Every box was unopened, the contents left to rot. Megan's hands trembled as she approached the nearest stack. The pizza boxes were arranged chronologically, like archived documents. The top box displayed last Friday's date. With mounting horror, she lifted the lid. The pizza inside was untouched, now covered in a thick blanket of green and white mold. The box underneath told the same story, and the next, and the next. Each one ordered, delivered, but never consumed. A shrine of abandoned meals, preserved like artifacts in this museum of compulsion. The humming grew louder, drifting down from the second floor. A man's voice, slightly off-key, singing what Megan now recognized as an old commercial jingle for Angelo's Pizza from decades ago. Her phone's flashlight beam caught something else, a stuffed Grubhub delivery bag, identical to her own, hanging from a hook. Then another, and another. The wall held at least a dozen bags, each with different delivery service logos, some so old the companies no longer existed. They hung like trophies, or perhaps warnings. The kitchen itself was immaculate, frozen in time like the rest of the house. Harvest gold appliances gleamed under a layer of polish. Copper bottom pots hung in size order above a pristine stove. A calendar on the wall showed October 1997, the days X et out until the 17th. Megan noticed similar calendars lining another wall, each showing the same month, different years. All stopped on the 17th, all marked with the same neat X's. The refrigerator hummed its rhythmic song, drawing Megan's attention. Photographs covered its surface, held by vintage magnets. More delivery drivers, but these images were different. Each photo showed a driver at their most vulnerable, sleeping in their cars between shifts, alone at gas stations late at night, walking to their apartments after work. The photos were taken with long lenses through windows from parked cars. The level of stalking was methodical, patient, professional. A desk in the corner held stacks of papers, delivery receipts, driver profiles, schedules. Megan's hands shook as she rifled through them, her flashlight beam revealing an archive of obsession. Pages of meticulous notes detailed the routines of dozens of delivery drivers, including her own. Her gym schedule, her college classes, the make and model of her car. Notes about her preferences, habits, even conversations she'd had on the phone while waiting in her car. The handwriting was precise, almost architectural in its clarity. The most recent page bore today's date and a single line. She finally came inside. The handwriting matched the dates on the pizza boxes. Fresh ink, Megan's heart hammered against her ribs as she discovered a drawer filled with driver's licenses, some recent, others expired decades ago. Each belonged to a delivery driver. Some faces she recognized from the surveillance photos. Others were yellowed with age, their owners long forgotten. Some had been marked with red X's. A leather-bound notebook contained newspaper clippings, carefully preserved in plastic sleeves. The oldest was yellowed and fragile, dated October 17th, 1997. The headline read, "Local pizza delivery driver still missing." The article detailed the disappearance of Thomas Wheeler, last seen making a delivery to this address. His photo showed a middle-aged man with kind eyes, standing proudly next to his delivery vehicle. Below it, a quote from his young son. "Dad promised to bring home a pizza. He never breaks his promises." More recent clippings revealed a pattern. Every few years, another driver would disappear. Police found no connections. Different companies, different areas, different times. But Megan saw it now, each disappearance linked to this house, this ritual, this obsession. The most recent article was from just 3 months ago. The photo showed an empty car, door open, delivery bag on the seat. The police had no leads. A small TV dinner table was set up in the corner, meticulously arranged. 2 plates, 2 sets of silverware, a candle, and a photo of Thomas Wheeler propped up against a water glass, his kind smile now seeming sad, knowing. A chair had been pulled out, waiting, always waiting. The humming stopped abruptly, replaced by the sound of footsteps crossing the ceiling above. Heavy, deliberate steps that spoke of purpose. Megan crouched in the darkness, her chest tight with fear. A voice called down, gentle but unsettling in its childlike cadence. "Dad, did you finally bring the pizza?" The footsteps approached the stairs. Megan's panic-clouded mind registered the truth too late. She wasn't the first driver lured into this trap, but she might be the last. The receipts told a tragic story. Thomas Wheeler's disappearance had shattered his son's mind. For 25 years, Michael Wheeler had been recreating the night his father vanished, using his dead father's credit card to order the same pizza again and again, desperately hoping that one day the right delivery driver would turn out to be his long-lost father returning home. Each failure added another pizza to the collection, another driver's photo to the wall, another bag to his museum of obsession. The house itself was a time capsule, maintained exactly as it had been on that rainy October night in 1997. Michael had spent decades perfecting every detail, from the furniture arrangement to the TV guide on the coffee table. The story wrapped around Megan like a suffocating blanket as she pieced it together. Thomas Wheeler had disappeared on his way to deliver a pizza to this very house. His son, waiting at home, had broken when his father never returned. Now Michael Wheeler spent every Friday night recreating that moment, hoping to change the ending. But the driver's licenses told a darker story. Some drivers, the ones who looked most like Thomas Wheeler, who had his build or his smile or his kind eyes, they had been given a chance to play their part in Michael's fantasy. To sit at that small table, to pretend to be the father finally returning home. The red X's marked the ones who had failed to maintain the illusion, who had broken character or tried to leave or failed to match Michael's perfect memory of his father. Megan's hand flew to her throat as she realized why she'd been chosen, why she'd been allowed to keep this route when others disappeared. With her short hair and build in the dark, from behind, she looked just like Thomas Wheeler's photo. She had become another candidate in Michael's endless audition, another chance to bring his father home. The stairs loomed before Megan like a gallows, each step creaking out a warning. Her options narrowed with every footfall from above. The delivery bag felt heavy in her hands, its contents now a prop in someone else's tragedy. Through the ambient hum of the ancient refrigerator, she heard drawers opening and closing upstairs, methodical, purposeful sounds. "The pizza's getting cold, Dad." The voice carried a desperate edge beneath its forced cheerfulness. Megan's flashlight beam caught a plastic-covered sofa, and a detail clicked into place. The preservation wasn't random. Everything in the house was positioned exactly as it appeared in that last family photo from 1997. This wasn't just a collection, it was a stage set, reset every Friday night for a performance that never reached its intended finale. The pizza boxes told the rest of the story, each one representing another failed Friday, another moment when reality didn't match Michael's desperate hope. The driver's licenses in the drawer weren't just trophies. They were a casting call, each person chosen for some small resemblance to Thomas Wheeler, given one chance to play the returning father. The red X's marked those who'd broken character, failed the audition, disappeared. Megan's flashlight caught her own reflection in a darkened window, her short hair, her build, her delivery uniform. She understood now why she'd been allowed to keep this route when others disappeared. In the dark, from behind, the resemblance was there. She'd been auditioning for this role every Friday for 6 months without knowing it. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. Megan had seconds to decide. The front door was 15 feet away, but the floorboards were treacherous, engineered to betray any escape attempt. The kitchen offered hiding spots, but no exit. Her phone's emergency alert button, installed after the recent string of driver disappearances, felt heavy in her pocket. One press would send her location to police and family, but would help arrive in time. Her only real option was to play along, to become part of this fractured recreation of a moment frozen in time. The pizza boxes lining the walls watched like an audience, waiting to see if she'd give the performance Michael had spent 25 years directing. Traffic was terrible tonight, sport. Megan pitched her voice low, measuring each word carefully. The footsteps on the stairs halted. A sharp intake of breath echoed through the house. She continued, guided by the fragments of Thomas Wheeler's personality she'd gleaned from the shrine-like collection of memories scattered throughout the house. But I promised I'd bring dinner home, didn't I? A sob caught in the darkness. Dad? Michael's voice had changed, shed its threatening edge. Now he sounded like the 12-year-old boy from the photographs, stuck in that eternal moment of waiting. You're really home? Heavy footsteps descended, slow and hesitant. Let's get this pizza while it's hot. Megan moved toward the TV dinner table, following the blocking laid out in countless staged photos. The chair legs scraped against linoleum, a sound effect in this carefully orchestrated play. I got your favorite, supreme with extra olives. Michael stepped into the kitchen. In the dim light, Megan saw a tall figure wearing clothes that perfectly matched the ones in Thomas Wheeler's last photo down to the grease-stained delivery uniform. His face bore traces of the boy from the photos, but twisted by decades of obsession and loss. His eyes fixed on Megan with desperate hope. For a moment, the illusion held. Then Megan's phone buzzed a text notification, shattering the carefully constructed fantasy. Michael's expression changed with terrible swiftness. You're not him, he whispered. His hand moved toward the drawer where Megan had seen the licenses marked with red X's. You're just like the others, trying to trick me. Megan reached slowly into her delivery bag, withdrawing the folder of newspaper clippings she'd taken from the desk. Michael, she said softly, look at these. Really look at them. She spread out the articles, not just the ones about Thomas Wheeler's disappearance, but the smaller stories she'd noticed. Weather reports, traffic accidents, a child on a bike saved by a delivery driver who swerved into Salmon Bay, a body never recovered. Your father didn't abandon you, Megan said, her voice trembling. He died saving someone else's child. He didn't break his promise, he couldn't keep it. Her fingers found the emergency alert button in her pocket, but didn't press it. Not yet. And he would be heartbroken to see you've spent 25 years trapped in this moment. Michael's hand trembled over the drawer. His eyes moved from the articles to the wall of pizza boxes, each marking another Friday of futile waiting, each representing another person who had tried and failed to bring his father home. The magnitude of his actions seemed to hit him all at once as reality cracked through decades of carefully maintained delusion. The hand dropped away from the drawer. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of 25 years of grief finally breaking free. He really wasn't coming home, was he? Megan pressed the alert button, then gently set the pizza on the table. No, she said softly, but you don't have to keep waiting anymore. In the distance, sirens began their approach, not as a convenient rescue, but as the inevitable end to a tragedy 25 years in the making. Michael didn't resist or run. He simply sat at the small table, opened the pizza box, and for the first time in 25 years, took a bite. As red and blue lights began to strobe through the windows, Megan watched him eat, understanding that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are born from love and loss, and that the real horror isn't in the violence, but in the quiet moments when broken people try to piece together the shattered remains of their lives. If this tale of obsession and lost fathers sent chills down your spine, share it with fellow horror enthusiasts who appreciate psychological terror, and remember, your next food delivery might come with an unexpected side of dread. Don't forget to subscribe to the Nightmare Maestro and hit that notification bell to ensure you never miss a chilling tale. Then haunt the comments section below with your own delivery horror stories or theories about Michael Wheeler's fate. What other dark stories might be hiding behind those cheerful delivery app notifications?